Hi guys! Have you ever feeling that time is go faster and faster as you get older? My name is Lenka and recently I thought, what is time? Is it really exists? Can it go faster or slower, or is it just in our heads? At first, the answer seems obvious. Of course time exists. It constantly unfolds all around us. It's hard to imagine the universe without it. But the universe doesn't know about hours, minutes and seconds. A man invented these definitions. The earliest time measurements were observations of cycles of the natural world, using patterns from day to night and season to season, when we should start to sow and to harvest. We connected time with the movement of the sun and other space objects. The ancient Egyptians divided the night into 12 intervals. Each interval began with the rising of one of the 12 stars. Into the same number of intervals, the Egyptians divided the day. This is the basis of our modern division of the day into 24 hours. Later, the Egyptians created a shadow clock. Now we call them the sundial. The simplest sundial consists of two parts: a flat plate and a gnomon, or stick, that casts a shadow on the plate. So, for many centuries people have lived understanding time just as an approximate division of day and night. But their duration, as you know, depends on the time of year. It is hard to believe, but the clock in the modern sense appeared in humanity not so long ago. The first mechanical clock was tower clock, and they appeared around the 13th century. But there was only one hand on such clocks – an hour hand. People didn't need an accurate measurement of time. They traveled rarely. Goods from distant countries were transported for months or even years. And nothing happened if the cow was milked half an hour later. So, it was enough – one clock for the whole city. Moreover, the difference on the clock in different cities could reach up to 60 minutes. But how can you notice this? Pocket watches were not invented until the 16th century. Years passed. People traveled more and more, they got busier, began to value their comfort and time. They invented the railroad. And along with it appeared train schedules, the minute hand, and later, in the 18th century, the second hand appeared on the clock. For example, there is still no second hand on the clock tower of Westminster Abbey in London, which is usually called Big Ben. Later, in the 20th century, scientists thought that the definition of time based on solar days is not enough accurate due to the uneven rotation of the Earth. Nuclear physics helped them. Now, 1 second is not just a part of a minute. The second is equal to the time of the radiation corresponding to the transition between the hyperfine levels of the ground state of the cesium-133 atom. Atomic clocks became better timekeepers than Earth's rotation, and they continue to set the standard today. Oof, what a relief that we can just put a watch on our hand and not think about it. But if scientists, after 1,000 years, not just clarified, but radically changed the principle of measuring seconds and time at all. So I should ask again, what exactly is it that we are measuring? Is time something that physically exists? Or it is some sort of illusion generated by the limitations of the way we perceive the universe? Our understanding of time started getting more complicated thanks to Einstein. His theory of relativity tells us that time passes for everyone, but doesn't always pass at the same rate in the different situations, like those traveling close to the speed of light or orbiting massive objects. For example, on the International Space Station, which orbits the Earth, time flows by milliseconds faster than here on the Earth. It is not so much, but in space there are much more massive objects than our little planet. Do you remember Interstellar movie? The heroes of the film landed on the planet, which is located near to the supermassive black hole. 1 hour spent on it was equal to 7 years on the Earth. This is not just a screenwriter's fantasy. Time slows down because of gravity. And I wanna tell you in confidence that the kitchens of some restaurants are located next to black holes. That's why sometimes you wait so long for your food. So, we think that time passes faster as we age because we are moving away from some huge object. The universe is expanding, the Earth is moving away from the center of the universe. Interesting theory, but I just came up with this nonsense. There are several hypotheses that attempt to explain why time feels like it goes faster as we get older. This phenomenon has been described by people across the world and over the course of history, but no one really knows. One hypothesis is that time feels like it is going faster because our perception of time changes as each unit of time becomes a smaller percentage of the total time that we have been alive. When you are 5 years old, 1 year is the equivalent to 20% of your life experience. When you are 50 years old, 1 year is the equivalent to 2% of your life experience. Other hypotheses argue that how we perceive the passing of time changes depending on whether we are focused on the now, the past, the future, whether we have a positive or negative view of our past or future. Have you ever had such feeling when something extraordinary happens, like a car accident or something else frightening? And at that moment, it seems to you that time has slowed down very much, almost stopped. And you look around the world like you are the Flash from DC Comics. But my favorite hypothesis argues that our perception of time is influenced by amount of information stored in your memory. When you first experience something, your brain doesn't have memories to draw on. So, it has to create new memories and store large amount of new sensory data. There is evidence to suggest that the brain uses more energy to create new memories than to recall existing ones. Your first memories of an experience are usually more vivid and detailed than subsequent ones. Remembering a novel event can bring up a lot of information that makes it feel like it took a long time. Once the experience is routine, memories are not packed with so much information, and the corresponding perception of time is altered. That's why time flows the slowest when you are a child. Because in that stage, almost everything is new and leaves a lasting imprint on your memory. You learn to read, write, cycle, do math, use the computer, make friends for the first time. After entering the family life reading with responsibilities, you no longer remain the free bird. Most things become routine: home, office, office, home, and a few favorite restaurants or bars with a few favorite friends. 1 week looks much like the previous week. 1 month looks much like the previous month. You think you have already tried most things there is to try in life, and are no longer interested in the things that are remaining. You start to withdraw and limit your life experience. This suggests that all the people who are experiencing few new activities may also perceive time differently to all the people who have retained a life that frequently exposes them to new activities. So, I think the key is to keep life active and varied, and to celebrate each day along the way. The only people who keep finding new ways to make their lives memorable are the ones who stay young. A life is a long series of millions of moments. The more of those moments you experience the awareness and try to appreciate them, the more long-lasting life you seem to have.